And what was the happiest moment of your life?
When you were born. Right.
So what are some of your favorite memories when, like, you and me were around when I was a kid?
When you used to come and I would chase you around with a hose. And then I had a green big
Bucket.
bucket. And I would put warm water in there. And then I would stuck you in there because I didn't want you to get into the pool. You know, I was worried about you. And then you were carrying big water bottles around. And you were saying, heavy, heavy. I remember that. It was so heavy for you, you know that? And then we would put that in your green tub. And you loved sitting in there. Did you know that? That was very nice. And then I made you lunch. And then we would always, I bring the guitar. You played the guitar. And we were singing. And you were eating. And then I told you a lot of stories. You would give me a book, you know. And I would make up the stories in the book, okay? Remember?
So you had a book and you wouldn't even read the book? You just hold the
just
book
made
and pretend
stories.
to read it?
Exactly. I made up stories. And then every time we went in the bedroom and we said we have a quiet time, you would give me one of my little romance books and I would read. There was a little boy who lived here and his name was Eric. And then he went here and he went there. And you loved the stories, you know that? And then I would tell you a turtle story. The turtle, instead of pizza, they would eat sausages and schnausages. In Bavaria, they would climb mountains. And when they came down, they didn't eat pizza, they ate sausages and schnausages. You always loved that.
What, remember the purple scarf?
What? What purple stuff?
Scarf.
Oh, yeah. And then we walk around. We put a scarf on the dog's head, a very one of those real sheer scarves ahead. We were all wearing a scarf over our head, and we marched around the house. And then I would play music, and we were dancing to the tune of an Austrian song, which was called, do you remember that, Mariandel?
Oh, yeah.
Mariandel had my Herzambandel, and I used to dance with you, and you loved it. We had a good time, we two, right?
So, aside from memories, what are some of the, like, important life principles that you've learned, for, like, with people skills and, like, dealing with people and choosing your friends?
You know what? To be honest with them, okay? And don't flatter them if you don't feel it. Be honest. Sooner don't say anything, you know, than say things you don't mean. And when you promise something, you have to follow through. That was always important to me. Don't promise anything unless you can really follow through. That is part of
Yeah, I
being a
know
good
that sometimes
friend.
when Dad would promise something, he wouldn't
Yeah.
follow through. It
Yeah.
hurt me a lot.
Yeah, see, I can't do that. Do you think I always follow through what I promised you?
Yeah, I remember when I was a little kid, you said you'd buy me a convertible?
Yeah.
I have it in the garage.
There you go. You always want to have a green one, though. I always said, Eric, what kind of car do you want? And you would say, a green convertible.
Maybe when I sell this one, I'll get a green convertible.
Yeah. That was so important. I always said, I'm going to buy you a car. And then I put the money aside, and I wanted you to buy a nice car. And I'm glad you like it. We'll get it all fixed up so you'll be happy with it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right? Because when you come back from Kauai, we have to have the car has to be in good shape for you, all right? And then you're going to start a new life. Start out little and work hard, okay? Work. Try very hard. Because, I can see a good life ahead of you. You have all the qualifications. You look good. You know how to talk. You have a very pleasant personality. You have, Not everybody has that. You know how to express yourself. And all those things are important in life. That's something you cannot learn. You have to have it,
Sometimes I have a hard time communicating how I feel to people that...
Well, sometimes it's very, very hard.
Or what I really want to say.
Yeah, well,
And sometimes, like, I
everybody
embellish my
goes through
stories,
that.
even though it's not true.
Well, everybody does. everybody embellishes a little bit to make it look good. You know, you don't want to sometimes. Well, everybody feels like, hey, how's the dad? Do you like me better? You know, that's not a big sin, you know. As long as you don't overdo it, you know. If you embellish a little to make you look better, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, we all have to sell each other, sell ourselves. That's the first thing. Every time I had a job, I went in, I talked to them. I was hired at every job I ever asked for.
Well, what are some things that you would say to them that really made
Well,
them
I
really
would
wanna
tell
hire
them
you?
what I did, and I told them my background, and I can really handle that. And then they say, okay, we want you to start next week. Every job, even as a decorator. I went there, I didn't have much experience as a decorator. I went there, and the guy, Heinzinger was his name, interviewed me. And I embellished that. I lied. I said I worked for somebody who was a decorator. I knew somebody who was a decorator, and I know her work, okay? And then he said, well, I want you to start next week. And then I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I had to measure everything. And I was studying and studying all night long. I was measuring and measuring. And then I dreamt, guess what I dreamt? I dreamt I had to do curtains for Hitler one night. Can you imagine that? Blue, they were light blue, and they had to be very fancy. And I thought, oh my gosh, I better do a good job for him, you know. Can you imagine all night long in my dream, I was measuring and fixing things because it was not easy, but I did it. And I was one of the best salesmen. I really sold a lot.
So what do you remember about Hitler?
Not much, I don't know.
About the whole, like, he first came on the scene in the world.
Well, I was very little when he came on. You know, I remember we were in school and we had to all go downstairs to the teacher's apartment to listen to the radio when he came through. And then my daddy didn't like him. My daddy belonged to something which was called Stahlhelm, means steel helmet, okay? They were soldiers.
Like the stormtroopers?
Like
SS?
American Legion. You know
Who
what
were the
American
SS?
Legions are? They had nothing to do with Hitler.
What was SS?
SS was, oh my God, SS was the highest Nazis you could find. Only the very tallest guy and blue-eyed, they were SS. SS was, they were pretty tough guys. You know, they wore black uniform, and then they had a insignia. They had like two things like lightning, okay? There was SS. But I remember when Hitler came, and I told you my daddy didn't want us to be. My sister and I, he didn't want us to join. It was called Hitler Youth, okay, the young people. And then he made us uniforms, and it was. My sister looked at it, and I looked at it. I said, "It's crazy. Everybody else is with the Hitler Youth, and we should march around with those stupid flags." Well, it didn't last long, you know. But he just didn't want us to join. And my dad was one of the few people. He really didn't care for Hitler. Most of them marched. They all marched.
They all liked Hitler?
Most people, they did. Because, you know, in the beginning he was very good. Everybody had a job. Nobody begged. He got the Volkswagen.
Well, he got the Volkswagen?
Yeah, there was the
What's that mean?
Volkswagen.
Oh, the Volkswagen.
That's from Hitler.
Oh, the VW.
Yeah. And then houses. The poor people, it was called Siedlung, could all get little houses. And on Christmas, when you didn't have anything, everybody got a present.
From Hitler?
Yeah, well, you know, the people who belonged to
So
Hitler.
he was pretty nice at first, right?
Oh my God, it couldn't have been any better. They're all marching and singing every night with the fire. I don't know what you call that. Lit up fire was called Fackel in German. Marching around and singing, and everybody thought he was the greatest.
So what was the Third Reich?
There was the Third, it's called the Third Reich.
What was that?
There was the Hitler time.
Oh,
it
that
the
was
Reich?
that was just like what it was
Yeah.
called, the time era,
The time era, yeah.
like the Golden
And,
Age
yeah,
or the Great
most
Depression. There was the Third
They
Reich.
were they were the SA. They were all Hitler. And they were all marching, and everybody thought he was the greatest. Except, no, I'm not kidding. I'm not just selling you that. When my mom went shopping, buying sausages, the guy would say, "Heil Hitler." And my mother would say, "Grüß Gott." You know what Grüß Gott means? Greet God. That was our greeting in Bavaria. But we used to have, okay? And then when we would leave, he said, "Fit good God," he said goodbye. And the God was always in the picture, okay? And then the guy would say, "We are around here agreed with Heil Hitler." And then my mama would say, "Grüß Gott." They couldn't do anything to her, but they sent a stone through our window. Through Umi's windows, and they said, after the war, they're all going to get us to Siberia. My whole family.
What's that?
Because we were Nazis, you know that.
Oh, okay, Ron has,
That's why I was so
so
upset
Ron
when you
has
called
a
me a
migraine
Nazi.
right now.
You know that?
I had to give him a shot.
They said they're going to send us to Siberia.
Who said that?
One of the guys in my hometown,
Migraines.
I still remember him. He had a paper.
He didn't like you?
No, he didn't like my mom, and he didn't like my dad. And my dad had to go to the army. The first 2 weeks they took him in already, you know that?
How come they didn't like you guys?
Because we didn't say Heil Hitler.
Oh, so you guys, it was the Nazis who did it to you.
That's right.
Oh, they didn't like you because you weren't Nazi enough.
There you go.
Oh, okay.
Exactly, that's what happened. When you called me a Nazi, remember how upset I was?
Mm-hmm.
Because I couldn't stand them.
Yeah, you didn't like them. They're they're jerks.
Not at all. They harmed my family a lot. And my aunt hated them. I said, "Don't say that. They're going to put you in a concentration camp." My aunt was that lousy, stinking Hitler. She hated him. And I said, "You better shut up and don't say anything, because you know what? They could take you away in a concentration camp when you said something bad about Hitler."
So even if you weren't Jewish, they would put you in
They
concentration
put
camps
him
if you
right
got mad
in
at
there.
Hitler?
And how. A lot of Germans were in there without being, what shall I say,
A Jew?
Jewish. Yeah.
For what?
And all the Jews, you would go in, because everybody had a drop of Jewish blood, wasn't? Can you imagine that? Huh?
Why do you think they hated the Jews?
I really don't know. It's so hard to say, why did they hate him so much? And I was not permitted in my house. My mom always said, "Don't you dare and hate him." Because my grandpa, I show you the picture. My grandpa was in business with a Jew, He was Jewish, that guy. His name was Khan, C-A-H-N. That's my grandpa.
What's your grandpa, the fat one?
Yeah, fat one. He looks a little bit like Ron, doesn't he?
Tiny bit.
That's the one. Those are the two who would buy the hotels together, okay? And that's why I was not permitted. My mama said, "Don't you dare and hate him," That was my grandpa's big dying.
So that was the guy who was the Jew?
Yeah, that
And then
was
he
the
went in a
Jew.
concentration camp?
Oh, yeah, he went in a concentration camp. Oh, yeah. And my grandpa was in a carriage with 4 horses, and went down the side of the road and got injured. That's how he died. This is my favorite picture. I never forget that. That picture. Look at Jeffrey feeding Rani. Because Jeffrey, I always said to Jeffrey, "That's your baby." Did you know that? And he believed that. And now that's Grandpa Schaefer, okay?
I turned the book a little bit more so I could see it with the camera.
Dr. Fritz Schaefer. He was a dermatologist, a radiologist, and a playwright. He wrote theater pieces, okay? I never met him. He died. Can I turn it around? He died before I met your daddy, okay? He had to come to America. Died of a brain tumor. He went, I told you the story, he went to a conference to Czechoslovakia to meet other doctors, and then Grandma,
His name is Grandpa Fritz Schaefer?
and then Grandma called him and she said, don't come back. It was called the Kristallnacht. The Kristallnacht, people broke all the windows in the Jewish stores, okay? And took a lot of people to concentration camps. Well, that's my mama. Look how snappy she looked. And that's Uncle Clement. I'm glad you brought that book along so this way it doesn't get lost, you know. That's Omi. She was so nice. God, she would have loved you. You know that? She loved
How old was she in the middle?
She, I would say about 60, and here she was 18. There she was 18. Got all dressed up. She would look very fancy, my mama. Mama loved nice.
Where's your dad?
He's coming up. That's Papa. Okay? A nice picture of him. That's Omi when she died. And finally, that's Papa. That's my Papa. Okay? Uncle Andreas and Hans Jörger.
Alois? Who's Alois?
What?
Who's Alois?
This here? Alois is my daddy. That's my daddy. And there was a picture for his driver's license, okay? He was the only one driving in town. Very few people had driver's license in Germany, you know. They didn't have any cars. And here is Uncle Andreas. Your daddy really loved that man, you know that? It was like his grandpa, right? Should I turn it? Huh?
Who's that?
What?
Her and George Pfeiffer.
George, this was my daddy's brother, my uncle. Okay? Daddy, this was Daddy's brother, and this was Daddy's brother. They were 3 boys, okay?
Mm.
And then Tante Gusti, I don't think I have a picture of her. They had 3 boys and 1 girl. Okay? And now let's see, what else do we have? That's me. So Bingy looked exactly like me. Did you know that? When she was little, didn't she? I was about 6 years old here. I loved that picture of my brother, huh? And he learned how
So
to fly.
your family was a little bit like mine,
What?
with 2 little girls and then older brother and older
Yeah.
sister. Yeah.
Exactly. And here he started to learn how to fly a glider plane. I always wanted to become a pilot, a commercial pilot. If there wouldn't be a war, he would have been flying airplanes. God, did he love airplanes. Used to run when an airplane was on the horizon. Now that's Grandma Schaefer, Vivian, okay? And who is that?
That's my family.
Look at that.
And that's my mama. Hi, mama.
More
Nice family, okay?
Here, look at the pictures.
We're looking at our pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I don't know, this was my mama. My mama was like, she looked good when she was young, you know? And that's my papa. Was it when he was 18, see?
Mm-hmm.
And there was his best friend. There was the postman in town. This one here. He was good at looking. My father wasn't very tall. He had a nice face, okay? But I don't know anybody who looks like that. You know? There was. Now let's see what else do we have. Oh, yeah, my mama again.
Mom's very good at cleaning.
Yeah, she's always working for that girl. I got her. She took her jackets upstairs. Okay, just throw them on the steps.
So, Mom, what was the happiest
Mama
moment of your life?
Always had hats on, you know. And I was always so dressed up when she was young.
To know that I was going to go to heaven someday.
What? What did she say?
When I realized that
What?
I could go to, I was going to heaven.
That's your happiest moment?
Uh-huh.
Oh, you have to live on life too. Look at that here. You know who that is? Omi and Daddy. When he
Here,
got
turn it a little
married-
bit. Turn it so I can see.
He got married.
That's you and...
I love this gray outfit. Didn't it look good?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's you and my dad when Dad got
Uh-huh.
married to Mom.
Yeah, was right in front of the church before he got married. I didn't look bad either, did I? I look pretty good. I think it's about,
But you always look good.
that's about the end of our pictures. I think we don't have too many.
Now I gotta start it over. And I gotta put a picture of me and my kids.
Oh, you have to do that. But then that's the town I was born in, Bayazoin. And you're going to go there. Okay? And you know how far I lived from the church? 2 houses down. You know how far I lived from the school? 3 houses down. We could walk to school, we could walk to church. We're all close together.
What about the bathroom?
What?
How many houses down was the bathroom?
The bathroom. You had a bathroom in our house. You may have a couple of them. When you have a restaurant and a lot of beer, people drink beer, so they go and pee a lot. So you have to have bathrooms, okay?
Zoe. Come on, Zoe, jump. Zoe, jump. Come on, Zoe.
I was skinny then. And your daddy looked so good, and your mama was so pretty. It was a nice time we had at the wedding, you know. I was talking to Daddy today. And look at that, how you 3 got dressed up for Easter. And then they said, you're never going to wear that when I bought it. And guess what? You just put it on when I said, you know, they said, he's not going to wear that. And I said, what do you mean he's not going to wear it? He said he's going to wear it.
I like that picture.
You look so good. Isn't it a good picture?
Yeah, I gotta get more suits like that. You gotta get me, we gotta get another suit.
I loved you.
I'd look pretty good in a suit right
You
now.
look very good in a suit. Look at yourself, how handsome you looked. And then I got you a very beautiful navy blue jacket. I paid a lot of money. Like it's called a club jacket, okay? You look good in that too. There's my mama again. I like that picture. I don't know why. That's one of my favorite. And then comes the all-time favorite, Tara. You know him?
I look pretty retarded in that picture.
No, you don't. You just close one eye. You didn't look like, look at that. He said he looks retarded. You want to remember when I came over and visited you in the hospital, Candy? There you
Couple
had
days
the,
old.
you had the best time in Vesta, in Silverado.
I remember that with all the Pringles.
Remember that? Yeah. We took you up there. It was so nice. And then and you said, where are we going? And Vesta
And there's
said,
all the kissy dogs in the car. I remember the kissy
the
dogs.
kissy dog. And then Vesta said, you have to decide. And you were so proud to show us where to go. You know, Eric, you thought you were a big shot. And I remember Jack.
I still do.
After we went on vacation. And here, I got that for you. And in 10 minutes, you know how to swing that thing around. You know that? You were on vacation, and I bought it. When you come back, he was swinging like crazy. I couldn't believe it. It's very well coordinated, right? So we had such nice memories of all that. You know that? And I remember when Mama had a baby, and she looked so pretty. And you looked so cute. I like myself here.
Wait, let me see.
But you think I'm very fancy schmancy? Look at that. Yeah. How about that? Look at my waistline.
Wow.
How skinny I looked. It was a beautiful dress. Pink shantan. Oh, it was beautiful.
Where's the other? Show the other picture.
This one
That's
here.
his dad.
Yeah, this I love. Kimmy. Here, that's the other picture. See that?
Yeah, that's a very futuristic looking dress.
Isn't that gorgeous? I think,
And this is the other
I
sister.
think I look very snappy.
Renee, come here.
Was that? Yes.
What was the happiest moment of your life?
Probably when I was a little girl and I was at Omi's house and I got a
A
toy kitchen.
That I never forget. Nobody could come close. The way you stood there. Everybody had to get away. That's your kitchen. And I never forget, this was so cute. You know that?
Yeah, I remember I tried to put something in the toy microwave and
Yeah.
Renee like cried.
Yeah. She didn't want anybody to touch it. I still see her there.
The best present.
Yeah.
And then when she gets older, Brian's gonna get her a real kitchen.
Most likely. She has to take all that stuff. She can't even lift that. Kathy, where should we put that? Her stuff.
I take that as the music while I'm upstairs because Dad's.
Darling, where are you going to put all
I'll
that?
put that in my room.
Dad's
But
what?
I'm doing my homework. Dad's snoring is ridiculously loud. I can't concentrate.
Hey, Dad.
Eric, stop it. Eric. Don't do that. $1 million.
Who does?
Your daddy. he
Where?
said. Right here. Can you see him?
Yep, that's the guy who was snoring upstairs.
Yeah. And then here I was a nurse. And that's what the nurses used to do. You wear a white hat, a white uniform. Now they don't wear hats anymore, do they?
Mm-mm.
Why not? I like a nurse should look like a nurse. You know? That's my mama. That's my grandma. This is my mama. That's my grandma. And my grandma died the same year when I was born. That's her. Is that? Yeah. No, Johann Beck. That's my grandpa. And he was, he was so rich. He bought for their church the altar and so many things. We went there and I looked at it. That's what they did used to do, They would buy things for the church. And I told you, they had 4 hotels. 4 kids got a hotel as a wedding present. How about that? Not a bad wedding present, is it?
So what about Papa's side? What about Papa's grandma?
Papa's grandma was a very little lady. And we didn't get together with them too much. She was about this skinny. And Papa's grandpa?
Didn't she know like 10 languages or 5 languages?
No, yeah, well, yeah.
Or was that his mom, not his grandma?
Not his grandma. His mom was very, very smart. Vivian. She was she went to the best schools. They were very rich. His mama was very, very, she had a big stores like what you call it, May Company, something like this they had.
Like Macy's?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so why were they so rich? What happened? Were they royalty
They were
or something?
No, they were Jewish. The parents worked a lot. Everything was taken away. It was like May Company, yeah.
Like Macy's?
Yeah, Macy's, yeah.
Like McDonald's?
Well, not McDonald's, like Macy's. It was a store, okay?
A clothing store?
Yeah, clothing store. Very,
And they owned it.
the owner was theirs, yeah.
And they had lots of them.
What?
Did they have lots of them?
Well, no, they had that I don't know. They had a real big one in Breslau. Breslau was a big city, And she went to the best schools you could possibly imagine.
Like what?
Your grandma in Breslau, they had special schools. It was called for daughters, Töchterschule. And she learned how to cook there, and she learned how to do all those things, Grandma was a very intelligent woman. Like I told you, not only did she speak the languages, she could write French, German, Italian, English. That's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah. What languages can you write?
German, and
Could you write French?
No, I don't know.
Can you speak French?
A little bit, yeah. Parlez-vous français? Si, oui. I like French. French is a very nice language. I like that. There was Papa. I saw my dad last when he was 42 years old. Can you imagine? That's young, isn't it, huh?
Yeah, how old is my dad? 50?
Yep. Papa was 42. He was he was the smartest guy in school, he and another guy. I just remember that they were the two smartest guys. You come from a good background, you know that, Eric?
So what were all of Papa's strengths?
Papa's strength? Well, the thing is that I don't remember him too much anymore because I was 13 when I left the house, okay?
No, your husband.
What husband?
Your husband.
You mean Papa?
Yeah.
Papa was super intelligent. My God. You could talk to him about anything and everything. He knew how to invest money. I'm living on all that. If he wouldn't have invested this well, I couldn't live the way I am. You know what I mean? There would be no $100 here and there. They would say, hey, can you give me something? Papa loved classical music. He knew all about art.
So what are some things that he did that I could copy so I could get just as smart?
He read a lot of reading, okay? And then he went to good schools. Schools have a lot to do with it. Went to University of Illinois, and a GI Bill, that's what paid.
What kind of classes did he take?
He had a master's degree in business administration.
So business.
Business, yeah. Well, he was an engineer.
Oh, he did engineering?
He graduated in engineering, okay? A bachelor's in engineering.
And then a master's in business.
And then a master's in business administration, yeah. Yeah. And then he thought he's going to maybe make his PhD, but it wouldn't make too much sense, in his job. He couldn't go up any higher as an engineer as what he did, And then he had his own factory, don't forget that. Clinton, he had a big factory.
That did what? What did it make?
Metal stamping, huge. You've seen the huge machines,
You mean the one that you had in the living room that gave you the Leo and the Pisces, the Leo, the different star things?
Yeah, he made that.
What else did he make?
The 12 sign. Fish hooks, and then parts for respirators in hospitals, okay? And all kinds of different metal parts for different things, okay?
So he just had different molds and he would
different molds,
mass produce random things?
Exactly. When it came down to the molds, And that's what he did. He made a lot of money. Most of our money was made there. When you work for somebody else, you don't make as much. When you have your own business, you can really make a lot more.
What business should I make?
I have not idea. We'll see how you develop. We have to see what you're going to become. Okay?
What do you think? If you could see where do you see me in 10 years?
Well, I think a motivation speaker, you would be good at that, to motivate people. You're good in talking, right?
Mm-hmm.
You might not make this much money, but you know what? Money's okay, but happiness in what you're doing is very important. You know that? That you go every day to work and you like it and you enjoy it. That's very important in life,
Mm-hmm.
It's not just the work you're doing. You also have to like what you're doing. Then you have a satisfying life, Making money is okay, But sometimes it does not satisfy your inner self, And
What do you mean by that?
Well, because somehow you're more fulfilling like what your mama is doing. She's helping sick people. And they're thanking her and telling her how much they like it. That's a very, very important part in life.
So how do you know that to be true?
Because I like being a decorator when I did houses and they looked so pretty like a day when we walk out. And I used to do beautiful homes. That really satisfied me, and the people loved it, and other people said, look how beautiful it looks. Like I did a restaurant in Minnesota, an Oriental restaurant. Like I said, I loved doing that. It was so much fun. And when people would come in there and eat, and they would say, isn't it beautiful? I would just sit there and listen to the people, how much they liked that. That was nice. That's satisfying. You have to satisfy your own self in what you're doing. If you can do that, you're very lucky. Okay? Like your daddy likes to be a doctor, And your mama does too. And that's very important, that you think your work is important,
So what's the story?
Here's the story. The Schaefers, okay? Your great-grandfather was a doctor over there. And he went to a doctor's convention to Czechoslovakia. And there was the Kristallnacht. And great-grandma called him and said, don't come back. Leave for America because they're killing all the Jewish people around here. And then his brother lived in Berlin. That's the one who had 3 doctorate titles. He was a dentist, doctor of dentistry, a medical doctor, and a doctor of philosophy. And on his outside, when you saw the house, they all had little plaques. And it read, doctor, doctor, doctor. And your grandpa was so proud of it,
Mm-hmm.
Papa always talked about him. Because when he visited him in Berlin, he said, there was doctor. There was one person with 3 doctor titles.
So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go to the bathroom, but keep talking into the camera. Tell the story. It might be easier when I'm not here because you can be able just to think more clear.
And then there was another brother.
So you can look into that and then just tell the story.
It's me. My God, do I look terrible? I don't like the way I look. And there was another brother, and he had a big hotel. And one went to South America, and another one went, to South America. And then he came back to France, and he was a professor at Sumy. Okay, we visited him. Jack and I visited him. And then he said he remembers Papa when he had a satisfier in his mouth. So we went out and bought a satisfier. And when Papa would ring the doorbell, he put that thing in his mouth. That was so funny. We visited them in Paris. And his wife was also a professor. They're both teaching. I don't know if they're still alive. They might be. They lost contact. But they were very, very nice people. I'm very proud of my husband's family. Okay? Very, very beautiful background. So you have to be proud of that. It's nice. Like I said, my mother-in-law spoke 4 languages. She spoke French, German, Italian, and English. And not only did she just speak it, she also would write them, which was very, very unusual that somebody would have such a knowledge of languages. And her all-time favorite was operas. Wagnerian operas she loved, okay? And she really, truly liked classical music. She had a music shop in Chicago, and she wanted to sell to all the customers classical music, which was kind of cute. So a very nice lady. She used to come visiting me every Sunday. And I would cook something real good. And the children loved her. They loved their Omi. And I missed her after she was gone. She had a very hard life after she left Germany. She was so spoiled as a child. And then she had to live in a tiny little apartment in Chicago. That was not easy. But somehow she never complained, which I really admired. So that's why we always had her on Sundays. And Papa and Omi would watch nice programs on television, especially musical program. So, Schaefer family is a real nice family. That's about all I can say. So it's the Pfeiffer family. My family were the Pfeiffers. And my mother's family were Bück, with a umlaut. There was the grandpa who had all the hotels. And like I said, each child got a hotel for a present when they got married, except my mama. My mama was too small, and she got the money. And at that time, all the money went kablank. And I still remember we had a big drawer under a cabinet, and that was all full of money. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, which are totally worthless now. That's right. That's it. Okay, now eat your sandwich. That's it right now. I don't want to talk anymore. Yesterday.
So, speaking of yesterday,
Yeah.
how do you feel about money?
How do I feel about money? You know,
What are the important principles that I need to know about money?
money is only good what you do with it. You don't splurge. And I know I never bought myself a pants for over $100. I was always very frugal, but you know what? I always had good taste. I was always the best dressed, but I know where to shop, you know? But you know what? I'm glad you did it. It looks good on you, okay? Money is only as good as what you use it for. Papa loved money. Papa was very careful with money, almost like your dad, okay? But I was the person who said, come on, let's go. Let's do something with it, okay? And enjoy yourself. That's very important, to enjoy yourself. And you know what your daddy's conviction was for New Year's? Huh? Not to be so stingy with himself. Enjoy the money. That's his conviction, he said.
Well, I read that most people's New Year's resolutions only last 2 to 4 weeks because they forget about it.
Yeah, you only go into the old habits again, okay?
So how do you prevent that? What is some advice for Dad to prevent that so he's not so frugal?
I'm going to talk to him. And don't forget, I keep telling my daddy, he's going to get everything I have. You know? So he lost $1 million, but my house is worth $1 million. And I have a lot of other stuff. And he gets all that, so he has some security there. He feels very bad. He wants to put some money into the bank in Switzerland because we don't know what's going to happen to the American dollar. It might totally go. You know what happened in Germany?
Yeah, it's gonna be what happened to you in Germany when you had all your toy money, pretty much. Like that might happen to us.
A whole drawer, hundreds of thousands of dollars I had, and we played with that. You know, when we were kids. How much is it? 2,000.
So it's possible, and it's happened before.
It happened before, and if that happened, I'm going to be in a hole. But if Daddy is going to get some of his money over to Switzerland, I think the Burns did it. Okay, and the Burns are pretty smart.
The Burns put their money in Switzerland too? So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to see what I'm about to do so you can get to know me. Who are you and what are you doing in my home?
Who?
You?
I like to clean when I get frustrated.
Okay, let me see that. Let me see if
Doesn't look very clean.
let me see if it has the right kind of connector out.
Okay. Tonight is poker tournament night. Look at all the people in that. It's obviously a big night.